Now, you're probably all wondering why the overhead has a cake. Well, as always, I'm going to eat the cake on the channel tonight, and I thought I'd share it with you just before I make my way into it. I won this cake, and I'm going to enjoy it. But I'm also going to enjoy it with a cup of tea as well. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello, hello, hello. Let me just have a look how things look. I need to move the microphone over a little bit. It looks a bit dark tonight. Why is it looking a bit... Oh, I know why it's a bit dark. 1 second. I moved a light and forgot to put it back. There we go, there we go. Hello, how are you? Hope everyone is well. Welcome to Sunday night. It is time for another live stream, and we've got some stuff to talk about tonight. Oh, have I caused controversy by putting out a live stream clip? What is it, all these people saying bad things about TBS? Leave them alone! Leave them alone! So, what we're going to do, we're going to update my Mambo and Crossfire live on air. Now, the firmware on these is really old anyway, predominantly because I haven't needed to upgrade, but I do now because I need to use it with Betaflight 4.3. And if you don't know, there is a problem with Crossfire version 3 when using it with Betaflight 4.3, so there is a need to update. So we're going to do it. But we're not only going to talk about that, we're going to talk about Argos once again leaking DJI's new release, the Mavic Mini 3 or the Mini 3, and we've got a bit more details on that. We're not going to cover too much on it because really, what is there to say? It's a mini drone that's expensive with a better camera than the last one, but we will share some thoughts. We are going to talk about Orqa acquiring Immersion RC, but furthermore, we're going to talk about the massive release of their new FPV goggles. We'll move on. And we're going to talk about a few other things along the way as well. As always, though, we're here to answer your questions, your thoughts. So if you do want to know anything, please do put it in the chat. I can see the people there. Let me hit the button. There they are. Hello. Hello, everyone. How are you? Good evening, Bruce. Nice to see you. I need to talk to you, Bruce, because I'm going to be inviting you on next week. Are you around next week? Do you fancy coming on? And Bruce isn't the only one. I'm going to start inviting a few people onto the live streams, or maybe a different video. And the reason for that is I finally set it up so I can talk to people. And I'll share a bit of news with you on that later in a minute. The first thing we do, because this morning I had an interview with someone, and it is a stonker as far as I'm concerned. I don't care what anyone else says. The guest is a super interesting, but not only super interesting, genuinely one of the nicest and open people I have spoke to. And that person is Carl from DiviMath. And I had the privilege of talking to him for well over an hour this morning, but I have a video which will hopefully be going out the middle of this week. And I will be sharing some details on that with you guys. Just showing you a little sneak peek. Nothing massive, just a little bit. But we'll talk about that as well. But I'm also looking forward to seeing what else and who else we can get on to the channel too. So, in the chat, we have Bruce. Good evening, Bruce. We have Brutus. We have Jeremiah. How are you, my friend? Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson. How are you? How are you? Bruce, you should know that by now. Expander, Peppermint, hello, mate. How are you? Hope you're well. Brutus, Peppermint, Extra, One Fly FPV. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Crossfire problem last update, but since then, there's no problem. Touch wood, we will see how it goes. Good evening, the Mojak. Good evening, Eglizer. Can't even say that one. KPV, hello, Mike. How are you? Blind Ninja? That's a great name. Good evening, David. Ram Donko. I knew you said Rambo. Gary. Geordie. Rody. Shady. How are you, my friend? Trini. How are you? Good evening, Jekyll and Anti-Gravity 82. Good evening, good evening, good evening. So I'm going to take a sip from my tea first of all. Now, as I said this morning, I was privileged to spend an hour talking to the fantastic Carl from DiviMath and HDZero. And the conversation was well over an hour. There is an interview coming up on the channel with Carl, which we talked about everything from how do we replace SCART cables, or the basis of where HDZero came from, but right through to what he's working on today, talking about the upcoming goggles a little bit. Not much in there, but also what the future of HDZero is and things like that. And it was a genuinely, for me, privileged position to be in, because he is such a nice guy. Honestly, he is such a nice guy. And the thing to understand about Carl is he's not a typical, you know, business owner, CEO, company runs a business. Carl is an engineer. And this bit isn't natural for him, the talking bit, but it takes me a little bit to get into it. I'm a bit rusty. I haven't interviewed someone in a very long time, but I can promise you there are some amazing nuggets of information in there. There really are, and I hope everyone enjoys it. There's also addressing some of the comments that have been made in recent times with regards to the dealer situation. Carl talks about that. We talk about some of the comments made by Tony at Immersion RC. If you guys saw the other live stream this week with regards to HDZero making it difficult for partners because they make their own hardware, Carl talks about that. And he also talks about the community too. So I hope you're going to enjoy it. It's going to be a good video, this one. I really hope you guys do. And I will share with you a little sneak peek before the end of today. Now, as always, guys, if you do have any questions, put them in the chat. Good evening, Chris, Bobby Bags, Hiya Buffalo, the Berg 2500. Good evening. So, what we're going to do first of all is go on to the overhead. Cool, look at that cake. Where are they? This is a triple chocolate. Honestly, you don't get quality live streams like this anywhere else. This is it. This is the pinnacle. Hey, that's even got a Rolo on the top. Look at that. There's a Rolo there for the US folks who don't know. We've got a bit of Yorkie and a Rolo as well. That's the way you do it. So, it is a Tony cake. Nicely done, Shady. So what we're going to do is we're going to update this as we walk through. And I'm not going to step through it step by step, but we will have a look at it. Now, this is the Mambo with a Crossfire module in the back. This hasn't been updated for some time. So not only do I need to update the radio, we also need to update the Crossfire module too. So what I'm going to do first of all, let's go to the overhead. We're going to turn it on. And we're going to use Agent M for this. We're not going to use Agent X, because I think Agent X is broke, is what people tell me. So we're going to click on that, going to find Agent M. Boom, there we go. Now, if you don't know what Agent M is TBS's online software to update. So what we'll do is click USB dice. There we go. We got the Mambo. Boom, you can see the Mambo, and we've got the tracer. So what we'll do first of all is click on the Mambo. You can see it's on firmware version 1.3. If we go over to here to firmware, we've got 1.34, which is a beta, but it says it's fixed a load of stuff. So let's update it, shall we? Okay. So we're just going to let that go through, and we'll come back to the Mytranus is... Yeah, I'm not surprised, Bruce. You know, there is not a massive need. Ooh. It's disconnected and reconnected. So it says waiting for firmware. Now, have I got to click link USB device again? Oh, there we go. So you've got to re-click. See, that's not that intuitive, is it? That you've actually got to tell it to redo it. I didn't know that. But I'd probably know that if I read. Is there instructions for this? But anyway, so we will let this do its thing. Although it says stay at current tab. So that's going to stop me going to put up what I was going to do. So while I wait for that a second, I'm going to eat a piece of cake again. I'm going to have the plate for this. My bad. So, once this finishes, because I can't get off this tab. Oh, I can, actually. I'll cheat. Move it to another window. There we go. I'm going to cheat. Ooh, didn't like that. I switched tab and it whinged. Look at that. Doesn't like you doing that. Better be careful doing that one. Didn't realise you had to keep the tab open. That's annoying. Perhaps we won't be doing all of the firmware on here. Okay. So, we'll talk a bit about the Mavic Mini 3 and then I'll come over to the screen when that's done. This week, if you guys didn't see, Argos once again leaked the Mini 3. Now, they did have a full listing, which has now been taken down. But there are pictures online, which we'll take a look at in a minute, which basically back up everything we've seen. So the images online show the same drone with a larger sensor, but they are showing it in this Mini 3 Pro with this smart RC Pro style remote. And the price was coming in over £800 in the UK. Let me just check the listing. I got it on my phone. It was, let me just see what it said. £859 in the UK. What's interesting is the Argos listing doesn't really show anything about the remote. They don't say much about it at all. Spec-wise, though, what we do get on the drone is that it weighs 249 grams. It's fitted with a new 1.13-inch sensor, which is capable of dual ISO and HDR. And it can do 4K 60, 48 megapixel stills. So it is pretty much what we expected. There's nothing shocking here. What more than anything is interesting is the actual cost. You know, over £800 is rather high, although they're not the first to be at this level. Autel was at this level with the Evo Nano Plus, and actually in some ways this is a better deal, because if they are shipping that controller with it for that, you're getting a device with a screen and everything for that money as well. So it isn't bad. Bruce's comment, what do we think of DJI's disingenuous claim about the... I think it's rebooted. Cool. So we've done the one bit of the firmware, which means I can go back to the overhead here. So to show you the images, the Argos link's been taken down now, but pretty much exactly what we thought. It's a Fly More kit. You can see you've got the drone with the camera, with another strange looking camera guard. You've got the props, and you've got this. We don't know what they're going to call this remote. We just don't know, but it looks fairly thing. Someone asked how much for the last version. It was less than £500. However, it doesn't have a remote like that. This is the first time they're shipping the Mini series with a integrated remote controller. It's worth noting that that remote style remote on the Mavic 3 is $1,000. They were charging $980 or £980 for that on its own. So I don't think it's going to be RC Pro, because they're not charging that much money for it, but they were charging more. So it's clearly a cheaper, upgraded version of the, well, cheaper version of the RC Pro. And it is interesting that they are charging more for the RC Pro than this kit, which includes what looks to be an RC Pro. So it does show some of DJI's marketing issues at times around their pricing and stuff like that, because they're shipping this drone for 800 and what was it? Did I say 39 or 50? 859. Yet the RC Pro in the UK, if we go to DJI.com, camera drones, Mavic 3, RC Pro. Here it is. Buy now. which is the same basic remote. Look at that. 800, you can't see because it's behind my head. There you go. Sorry about that. 879. Oh, you can see it at the top now. There you go. There you go. £879 for the RC Pro. Yet, for $859, you're getting this little drone with the similar remote. Now, yes, this is probably a cutback version, but what capabilities are you going to lose? It's got gimbals, it communicates with the drone, and it's got a screen. About the only real limitation this has probably got is it doesn't have the USB port for connecting the external dongle, the 5G dongle that is available. But many users aren't going to want that anyway. But that doesn't warrant a 650-700 pounds uplifting cost. Because if this whole kit is 859 roughly, that drone on its own was like 400. So we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see. But what's really interesting about this is they are cannibalizing their own pricing again and showing how much they're ripping you off in other areas. Because I don't care what features they've taken off this. It'll have to be Android-based, based on the Fly app. It will have sticks, and it will be OcuSync. Yes, it might not be OcuSync 3. It might be OcuSync 2. But this is, in essence, going to be the same as an RC Pro. Were they like in good light? They're all right. These are 1,000 nits usually. The RC Pro was still 1,000, was it? Let's have a look. Yeah, 1,000 nits on the RC Pro. I don't see it being any different. You know, if we look, there are some subtle differences. You know, the color, the home, the pause. But it's the same casing, just a different color. Couple of button differences you can see. We haven't got the ones on either side. So it's clearly cut back. We don't really know anything else. But for the most part, it's the same. For the most part, it's exactly the same. And this is that, again, example where DJI is outpricing themselves at the start. And people who've bought the Mavic 3, I can see being very unhappy. If that supports OcuSync 3, right, and it offers almost all of the same features as the RC Pro, man, there's going to be some peeved people. Man, there's going to be some upset people. There really, really is. So the drone itself looks interesting. Nothing shocking here. You know, look, it's a better camera. It's, you know, they're calling this the Mavic 3. So it can do vertical and horizontal images. If we look at that one there we go. So it can rotate the camera 90 degrees to do verticals. It can also look straight up and look straight down as well. Some nice features, but does it warrant that increase in cost? I think that's a hard sell. That's a hard sell at that price. And I'm not actually saying it's a bad deal, because I think it's actually not bad, because if you take the Autel deal at the same price, the Autel Evo Nano Plus is about the same money without that remote with a screen. So it's not that it's expensive, but I still think it's a hard sell for a sub 250 gram drone. Now, Bruce made something interesting, a comment earlier, which was, what do we think about DJI's disingenuous claims regarding encryption of Aeroscope data? For those who haven't been following this, let me just get on the full screen. There's been some stuff on Twitter from KF and others. And basically, the basics of this is DJI have a PR guy, stroke media guy, who is Adam. I've spoke to him in the past on messages. He's actually a really good guy. So Adam should never get any hassle off people. He's a good bloke. KF and people were asked, not KF, sorry, one of the tech websites was asking, was Aeroscope encrypted? They were told yes. And then KF stepped in and said, well, actually, it's not. And then it went back and forth, and they backed it up saying it's not. And then they come back and said it is. And then they come back and said it's not. So Bruce's comment is, they kept saying it is encrypted, that only DJI can see it, until they were pushed and said, actually, no, it's open. I don't think this is disingenuous. I think this was typical DJI incompetence. Frankly, having seen this play out for myself time and time again, this is a classic example of how DJI operate internally. And this is a classic example of the incompetence at times of people who work there in China. Not Adam, not the people in the US. I have been involved in stuff with this exact thing happens. You go to China and ask a question, you get an answer. You come back and go, well, hold on a minute, that can't be right because of X. You go back to China, they come back and say something in the back, and you go back and forth, and then in the end, it turns out complete and utter nonsense, all wrong, all backwards. This is very, very DJI. I was not at all shocked about this. Now, it's been a bit of a mess. I can't remember who it was. If we go on Twitter, let's find the great man himself, KF. For those who haven't seen, KF is one of the original hackers on the DJI system. Let me just find posts by KF. He's one of the OGs, for those who don't know him. Bruce, have we ever trusted anything they say? Why do people think for years I've said some of the things I've said? I don't think unless it's in your hand, you never trust them. A term I've always used with DJI, unless it's in your hand, you never trust it. I'm not at all shocked. You know, you always take it. Right, where is it? Let's see if I can find the post. It'll be here somewhere. Your data is safe. Now, I've always had the attitude of you trace. Data's a different thing. Anyone who thinks your data's safe. Can I adjust the video? What video? What video do you want me to adjust? I'm trying to find his post, which is it to the website. It'll be here in a minute. I would just argue I don't trust any company with my data. I don't trust Google. I don't trust Apple. I don't trust anyone. I've always had the same opinion that if you have a concern over your data, then you need to look after it. I don't trust Apple any more than I trust DJI or Google. I keep a really simple thing. I'm not saying they're stealing data, but I don't trust any of them. They're all after your data. They're all doing it. Not one of them is better or worse than anything else. Just like a Google, Facebook with Cambridge Analytica. It's all the same stuff. It's all the same issues. You know, I don't trust any of them with my data. Do I think DJI is any worse with your data than any of the others? No. It's that simple. I don't trust any of them. So I secure the bit I want to secure. I can't find the post. It's annoying. I don't trust any of them with my data. And it's really simple. I don't believe for 1 minute China is any worse than the US or the UK for stealing data. I think they all do it. Of course they do. Data's money. What I would not say, and I wouldn't agree with, is DJI is any worse than anyone else. But I would take them all with the same level of disdain with regards to data protection. Good evening, Dimitar. How are you? So, that's the Mini 3. Not a lot to see here. Not a massive amount. It is what it is. Okay, we'll wait and see what the price is. We'll wait and see how that one goes. Okay, so before we move on to the next subject, it's time to do part 2. So we've done the Mambo. If we check firmware, 1.34, we're up to date. Now we've got to do tracer module. We want that one there to that one there. Please stay on current tab. God, I hope it stays there. DJI have a reason to activate. DJI's reason for activation has always been a number of things. DJI's reason for activation for them has always been, in some ways, about collecting data. There's no question it's about collecting data in some ways. But it's as much about warranty, and it's just a choice they've always made. They use that data for the warranty purposes, but so does Apple. You can't use an Apple iPhone without activating it. Even if you want to use it on Wi-Fi, an Apple iPhone will not work until it's been activated with Apple. So again, if we're going to throw stones at DJI on that, we're going to have to throw them at other companies. There are many, many companies that won't let you use the product before activating. DJI is the largest in... but the whole screen looks like it's under... Screen on the right is sharp, but the whole screen looks like under and blurry, but only on a smart TV. Not sure. That activation thing happens with many products. What was the last thing I bought that needed activation? And don't get me wrong, the Autel didn't require it. I get that. People don't want that. But there are many products. The iPhone. There's something else I bought recently that needed activation. I can't remember what it was. Just updating Tracer. Other manufacturers manage their warranties that need to activate them. Yeah. No, but they're not alone in this. If we're going to start throwing stones at DJI, we have to throw stones at everyone. It's not... Why are they singled out compared to others? Can't remember if it was one of my cameras needed activation. Something. It's definitely something. You know, there are many products that require activation. So, smart TV my smart TV required activation with Samsung. When I bought that Samsung TV, plugged it in, wouldn't work until it was activated by Samsung. So, Tracer's updating much quicker. So there are many, many things. So at the end of the day, that in itself is not, because if you're going to say that, you know, Apple say they're the best company in the world. They're singled out because of the market they're in. Yeah, you could argue that, you know, are they the only one in this market though? I'm trying to think. There is... Oh, that's the Mambo done. Good evening, Dave. How are you? You know, and it's... I don't care about activation. Frankly, that's the least of my problems because it's really simple. I can create a Google email address in 2 minutes, put in a fake address, and activate. And I'm going to eat a piece of cake. While I say that, there is no reason you can have to give them genuine data. There's no reason you just don't go creating a Google Gmail account, activate it. I've always said to people, if you don't want to give them your data, don't. Just give them something else. There's always options. Always options. When we can get the US positions, can we please stones to bricks? So, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Right, Tracer's at 50%. It's doing it in 2 stages. So it's done the main firmware and it's doing the baseband, and then we will move on to Orqa. And I'm going to eat a piece of cake. I don't... But DJI is not... But lying is not right. DJI would never lie to us. Aligned them's not great. Yeah, you know, the activation is a step. An annoying step, yes. I get it. There is a product they make that doesn't require activation. DJI mics. Their new microphones don't require activation. Tracer's nearly done. Got my binoculars ready for Orqa. We'll come on to them now. Cool. So Tracer's done. I'm going to turn this off a second now. So we'll just check it. We'll just make sure it is correct. And we'll then, we'll move on to the next subject. So Mambo Tracer, firmware 6.17. That's all gone nice and smoothly. No problems at all. No problems at all. So we've done the Mambo. Okay. So we're going to chin it off, and then we'll come back and do the Crossfire module, and then I'll get a receiver and have a look at how this crap show goes. So the next subject. Now, this is a two-part one, actually. Let me get the desktop up. Okay, so the first is that Immersion RC and Croatia's Orqa are merging to create one big company. Now, I'll be honest, this wasn't news for me. I thought this had already happened. I just assumed that it had happened with how interlinked they seemed in recent times, but apparently it wasn't the case. But they have now agreed a deal, and for the most part, it appears that it's Orqa buying Immersion RC or taking over, but Tony Cake is joining Orqa. Brings a wealth of experience. Really interesting to see. And he was on the podcast this week with the guys on Droning Out, I think it is. And it was good to see. But yeah, it's quite interesting. You know, I think they need to do something with that. It would be better to have their heads not cut off on that top image, Orqa. You might want to solve that one. It's the 4 headless men of the FPV apocalypse, is what that is. That's a rather unfortunate crop, isn't it? But anyway, they are acquiring Immersion RC. And I don't think this is a bad thing. It's really interesting to see. They're Tony Cake's arms. Yeah, we can work out which one's Tony. Tony's the bouncer in the room. And we need to feed this guy a bit more, I think. That was my thought. Yeah, very unfortunate crop. But quite interesting. Quite interesting. Now, this was what they said was their massive news. But there was a bit of a launch from them this week, and that was these, which is the Orqa FPV1 Race Edition. Now, this is a version of goggles which is basically made in partnership with 533, which is Evan Turner's company, and they are a dedicated race set of Orqas. And the basics with these is rather than you buy the FPV1 pilots and stick them in race mode, if you don't know what race mode is, it reduces the field of view, makes it smaller, and racers like this because it brings everything more to, you know, your eyes are able to look at things without moving around the screen. So rather than buying a set of FPV1 pilots and run them in race mode all of the time, what they've actually done is fitted them with smaller screens, meaning that you're not running them in lower res, you're simply using smaller screens with the smaller 33-degree field of view. And I believe they've also removed the head tracking feature as well. And as a result of these, they've been able to reduce the cost. These are really not an upgraded set of goggles. They're just a very dedicated version, and they come in these new white casings, which actually looks really, really nice. They do also have a new dedicated menu system as well, which looks really cool. Let me just put that up. There is a look at these. You've got a 533 menu and color system, which I think looks really nice on them as well. But the basics are, they are a dedicated version for racers. That's where the basics are. Something we don't know, and I'm guessing this is the case because the resolution has been reduced from 1280 times 960 to 1024 by 768. So as a result of making the screen smaller, you've got less resolution. Okay, what we don't know is the pixel for pixel the same, or are you actually getting more pixel density as a result of them using the smaller screens? So for instance, on the other Orqas in race mode, you weren't using them in that 1280 by 960, you were taking them down to a smaller view. However, what they've now done is changed the screens and made them smaller screens, less resolution, but that could still be more pixel for pixel than you had on the FPV1 pilots. We don't know that, but I would be betting that's the case. I need to reach out to Orqa and ask that question. If someone has seen that, please do let me know. But that's the basics. Nothing spectacular. I think it's a strange release, if I'm honest. I think I don't quite get, is there enough people to warrant a dedicated production like this? I suppose if they can, you know, they're having to source different screens and things like that. I'm just not sure. You know, this now means separate production runs and stuff like that. And I just wonder where the benefit is in that from a cost point of view. What damage would likely happen to the screens by keeping them in race mode all the time? Does it even matter if you're never going to put them up to the full resolution? I understand there's savings to be had, which I think is good. Like in the UK, that's 376.52 compared to, let's just have a look. Orqa's website is shocking, I may add. Absolutely shocking. Handset, headsets. So if we click on headsets, so we've got the 533 edition, 376, and the Pilot's 422. So there's £50 saving in the UK there, which is not insurmountable. That's a good chunk of money. So to be fair to them, that's not a bad deal. You know, you can't complain at that, but I just wonder if the savings for them, is it really worth it? As I said earlier, Orqa's website is shocking. You know, if you go on Orqa's home website, the main website, right? So we're on the main Orqa page. And we go, oh, okay, FPV1. We'll click on the goggles. And they're still showing the original goggles. Okay. So the original FPV1s, not the one Pilot. And then you click here to go, oh, I'll buy now. And it takes you to a page that shows you a battery and an FPV Connect module for the last goggles that are no longer available. So at this point, I'd be like, well, where's the headset? Sorry, wait there, FPV1. Oh no, look, buy now. I want to buy now. Oh, and oh. No, I can't. Where's the headsets? You actually have to click on this dedicated shop icon. Sort your website out, Orqa. Come on. Please. It's a joke. You're trying to sell us expensive products, and you're sending users to a blank page. Fix it. It's not good business, that. How many sales are you losing because people can't find it on the website? Not very good, is it? Not very good. So, interesting. Interesting indeed. Just checking on the chat on that. Let's have a look. Evening, Gary. How are you, my friend? Need to add a module at that price too. You do, KPV? You do? Come on, mate. Yeah. Mike, yeah. Was it Immersion RC? Yes, they have partnered with Orqa. We just mentioned that, Gary. Yeah, so they are basically being bought by them. Just looking around your site, someone said just now, it looks like a WordPress shop, inherently terrible if that's it. Yeah, it's just a joke in some ways. It just, you know, like stuff like that, there's no excuse. Change that button to take it to the store. It's really that simple. Let's just have a look. Someone said about the sales. Let me just find it. Tony probably wants to get in on those killer MC Dapper checks. Let's just have a look. Not a racer who wants smaller screens yet. We'll keep searching. Someone did mention about they'll probably do all right. Oh, they look cool. Greg Gerber. They look cool. There are a lot of racers. I think they'll do all right. Yeah, I just think it's interesting, in it. The price savings are winner for racers. At the end of the day, they are offering something which the racers want. So we shouldn't complain about it. My only thought was, in some ways, would it just not make sense to sell the main ones and try and bring the price of them down and give... I would have rathered them make sort of a cut-back version of the Pilots, keeping the same screen and allow you to use race mode. Can't imagine the cost savings on the screen is that much. But I could be wrong. Sky Zone. The Orqas were really good goggles. You know, they really, really are good goggles. Like, there's still some features on the Orqas I wish the Sky Zones had. The Sky Zones are very good. Orqa, yeah. So Orqa have acquired Immersion RC. I'll go back to it for those who didn't see. If we go onto the main website and on the blog, they have agreed to acquire Immersion RC. They say they're coming together, but when you read it, it sort of reads as under the terms of the deal, Orqa will acquire 100% of Immersion RC, whose CEO, Tony Cake, will join the Orqa team as CTIO, Chief Technical Innovation Officer. All existing IRC products will continue to be sold and developed and supported. So they're bringing it in-house. And I think this is a really interesting move. And what's super interesting, actually, about this, and the fact this is the 4 headless FPV men of the apocalypse, is that it never happened with Fat Shark. We all know how close Immersion RC were to Fat Shark for many, many years. Yet they found a partnership in them. So I think this is good. I think this is very, very good. You know, Immersion RC Ghost is a very, very good system. There are a lot of people who have a lot of good things to say about it. They really, really do. And it'll be interesting to see how this goes under the Orqa hood. Orqa have that remote control. I'm not really sure how I feel about that. You know, if we go onto the shop and they got the products, and if we go to, they've got this remote, which is the controller plus Ghost, which is all very nice. Yeah, Orca's definitely trying to build an ecosystem. They got this remote, but I'm not sure about that. Okay, look, it's 96 quid. It's £96. But do you know what else? That money. What else could you get for that money? Anyone know? Anyone understand what else you could get for that money? Anyone imagine anything you could possibly get for that money? Something quite recently released that there's a lot of excitement around? Anything? I can't imagine what you could get for that money. And I think it's probably a little bit of a better deal. Lap dance times 5, Mike. I'm sad that Fat Shark is so averse to innovation. Interview with CEO did JB screamed we're comfortable doing just this. That actually isn't mine, Bruce, but apparently yes. That is a very short-term loan in the sense of I'm giving it back tomorrow. But apparently one is turning up. And I have sent you an email, which you never replied to, by the way. I did send you a reply to your email. Eating more of my cake. So, Immersion RC and Orqa, I think that's a great thing. I actually like that. Orqa appear to be building an ecosystem. There's a really good interview on Droning Out with Tony Cake that was done last week. I'd love to talk to Tony myself. He's a super interesting character. Super interesting character. My only complaint, and I'm going to go there again, and I mentioned this last week, is I do think some of these companies need to grow up a little bit on how they talk about other projects. And I will be honest, this company especially need to learn that the way to handle how you deal with comments, and the company that makes this need to learn how to deal with comments about other products better. And I can tell you now, there is a great example of that coming up in the video that I've got this week on how you talk about stuff. Let's drone out. That's it. How you talk about other open source projects that are competing with your own. And I can tell you now, you know, they all should learn not to talk crap about these projects and instead simply say, you know what, we like what they do, but we're doing our own thing. And I think it's interesting. And this actually leads very nicely on to something. Well, I've got a lot of you here. So moving on from Orqa, I'm going to talk very quickly again about HDZero, because this morning I had an hour and a bit with Carl Zhu, or Zhao. I'm not 100% sure how you say his last name. The ASIC designer and owner of DiviMath and HDZero. Now, for me, it was really a privilege to be able to talk to him. He is genuinely one of the nicest people I have ever spoke to in FPV, from just willing to answer questions, willing to talk completely open, willing to understand the mistakes they've made and where they want to go and where they are. And I can promise you this. There is a reason these people are starting to talk, not badly, but say things about HDZero and Express LRS. And I can tell you the reason they're doing that is they're worried. And he is a class act. I can promise you that. Carl is a class act. I'll show you a little bit of how this intends to look. Let me just find a clip of it. Today, I am pleased and privileged to be able to... Stop it, because I don't want it to play. I don't want the audio there. And I just want to find a piece of it just to show you how it's going to look. On my side. Find out what that is. Let me just find it. You said, obviously, that's coming. I think. And let me just. Guys are in manufacture right now with the VRX on here. It's got the new chipset. And I'll show you a very quick sneak peek. So let me go to the desktop, and I'm going to unmute the desktop so you guys. I'm going to mute my camera and unmute the desktop. We've got the antennas have gone, and we've now 4 SMAs. Is there any benefits to this new chipset on the new VRX?
They look similar. They have similar performance. Right. The patch antenna is gone, but the patch antenna is, well, I get some requirement from suggestion from the pilots. They prefer 4 SMAs because they can put patch antenna on their own. That's why we have the real antenna reel. They can put the patch antenna on. But I understand it will add some cost for acquiring those antennas. Yeah, that's one of the disadvantages.
Yeah, I suppose what you're giving is more options. On the flip side, it adds cost on the front end a little bit. Yeah. How does it? Is it strictly diversity? And I have spoke to you about this before, Carl, but as I've got you, I'd rather you explained it. How does the VRX choose what SMA to use? What is it? Diversity? What is the logic behind the selection of antenna? And I'm going to stop that there because I want people to watch the video. But that will give you an idea of what's to come. And I'm really pleased with how it's come out. It's a big edit. It's a very big edit. It's I'm a shocker at times. I really am. It's over an hour. I promise you now, the video is over an hour. It's a huge edit. To give you guys an idea, I did take a picture of the edit. For me, it was about making sure that we, you know, it's not for me to get in the way of Carl. You know, to give you an idea, that's the edit. It was a big edit for me. Really was a very, very big edit. But it's going to be worth it. I promise you, it's going to be worth it. It's really, it was a privilege. A cake's going to my throat. So maybe this week. I want Carl to see it first. I'm actually sharing it with him. I'm not going to hide that. As he participated, I want to make sure he is 100% happy with it before it goes out. I wouldn't ever share an interview without making sure people are happy. But he was as open as he could. Open as he could be. And we had a really good chat afterwards. And there's stuff I cannot tell you. There's stuff I can't share with you. But there's a lot good in there. There's really is a lot of great info coming and a lot of good info around the corner. Oh, never mind. He was choking on the cake. It's going to be out tomorrow. Can't wait. I got to make sure. I don't know if it'll be tomorrow, but the plan is this week. So big thank you from me to Carl as well. Genuinely the nicest guy in the world. And I know I keep saying that, but genuinely was. No, hey, look, HDZero, something I will show is HDZero never came for FPV. HDZero was looking at FPV, but it was one market. And that is the exact open source project where I was saying it's a class act the way he talks about it. And it's, you know, Carl has his reasons for doing what he does and the way he's done it. And more than anything, he's an engineer. And what I will say with him is, you know, he is not used to doing this type of thing and being in front of the camera and stuff. And he's, you know, he's genuinely shy. And you can see at the start of the video, he sort of gets into it. And once he gets into it, it really does go. And we talk about huge amounts of stuff. So, and okay, if you're looking for pricing on the FPV goggles, it's not there because I didn't ask, because there's no point today. And there's a reason I didn't ask, because whatever the price is today is going to change tomorrow. But we talk about that element as well, of the build of cost, of the difficulties he's faced with the current VRX. There's a reason changes have been made. There's just such a lot of amazing little info that you just wouldn't normally pick up, including how Carl himself explaining how the antennas work, because that's a really important part of the system. And yeah, you know, it's hard not to be, it's really hard not to be it's not hard not to be super impressed. I'm super impressed, but I can completely see why people want to support him. And we don't hide away from the hard questions. We talk about the problems he's had with dealers and the margins. And we talk about some of the comments Tony RC have made and Fat Shark. And could you put subtitles? Yeah, I can see. It should be available. I'll make sure it's on. It should be a good one. I'm really pleased with how it came out. I think it's looking about an hour and 5 minutes. I think that's what it's come out at, because I don't want to cut anything out. I've literally just trimmed some gaps here and there. We had Skype drop out a couple of times. Other than that, there was a couple of long pauses for me as much as Carl, and me talking a bit of nonsense in the middle of it, which was not really related. But the interview is basically the full interview all the way through as we did it, just with some of the pauses and stuff taken out. That's all. So yeah, I'm really pleased with it. So that's going to come this week. Now, next job. If you've got any questions, please do put them in. It's time to update this. Let's get back onto this, shall we? Agent M. Link USB device, Crossfire. Here we go. I need to move my camera. I'm in the middle of the screen. Why am I in the middle of the screen? Get over there. Okay, so now so if you look at the versions, now I have not updated my Crossfire for quite some time. Okay, I say quite some time, 28th of January 2021. So it's running 4.11 firmware. I need it to be on 6.17 because I'm going to be using it with Betaflight version 3. Sorry, Betaflight version 3. I've lost the plot. I've forgotten what version it is. 4.3. I couldn't get it out then. Betaflight 4.3. So they've had to disable Crossfire version 3 as a result. Now, if we look through, there's been a lot of betas. There's been a public version here. There's some big firmware updates in there, pip mode switch and stuff like that. I couldn't get it out then. And there's lots of little changes that I've not done yet. So what we'll do is, it's loads of big changes. Look at all of the stuff they've done. So mine is quite old, and I do take that same route of Bruce. I don't update unless I absolutely have to. However, it's now time to do it. So let's go to public. Let's update to 6.17. Please stay on the current tab. Let's see what this does. So it's disconnected, and you've got to do this relinking again. And we'll see then what it does on my receiver. And that's what we'll have a look at in a minute, because there's been a lot of talk. And this leads us on to the kickback I've had this week from that video that I put out. And that video was based off the live stream I did last week. The live stream where I talked about where I feel TBS is falling behind and where I feel that there are issues that are not addressed and people are struggling. And look, I just want to explain my thoughts on these things. Oh, that says it's updated the firmware already. Is it that quick on Crossfire? Just wait a second. It says restarting. Please stay on the current tab. Here we go. Relink USB. Oh, it's going to do the subsystem now. Okay. So these comments come from a place of liking the company. We all have companies we like the products. We all have companies we use products of daily. I've been a user of TBS products since pretty much the day they started. Whether it not necessarily be this radio or Crossfire, I was recent converted to these, but I've been using their products for a very long time and I like what they do. But that isn't to say when there are problems, they should not be criticized for them. When there are issues, they need addressing, and there are just too many being posted for it to be user mistakes all of the time. And the stuff where people having binding problems and this and that. And it's not right that you say a company's great when they're doing good things, but don't say anything bad when they're having problems. And they are in a critical time. And I explained this. There was a post someone put up on the group, and it's vanished now. And I'll bring it up, and I put a very long reply on. And my point is this. We want TBS, Immersion RC, all of these companies to be around. This is worrying me, right? Let me just show you something. This has gone all the way up to there and back to 0 3 times now. Let's just watch this a sec. I've been watching out of the corner of my eye. It's on subsystem. Is it doing different bits of the subsystem? Express is looking interesting from a price point of view, but I need the full resolutions. You can have the full resolutions. It just lowers the rate. Oh, it's done that now. That's weird. You can have the full resolutions if you want. You just have to lower the rate. What gives it its ultra speed is the fact that it's cutting down the amount of data it's sending for stuff it doesn't feel it needs. Just so that looks like that's done. That's why ExpressRS is doing it. That's how they're getting 500 hertz. You're sending data. You're not sending data you don't need. Do you need full switches? There are hybrid switches modes. I can't remember what's in ExpressRS now, but there are other switch modes available. But it does then affect the latency. There is always a payoff. There is always a compromise. But we all want TBS to survive. We all want them to do good things. But they also have a bit of a problem that rather than sort of embrace what the community is doing, they do tend to go back at that community at times. And I think there just needs to be a little bit of growing up on that. They are skipping incremental firmware updates and they are trying to fix everything. That would make sense. That would make sense. If they could do that, that would be cool. Now, that's done the update. Now, if I show you this, there was a post which made me laugh. FPV posted it. Let me just get my Discord to wake up. Discord's all Hello? Oh my gosh. What was that? That was weird. Wow. Okay, I have no explanation for that. I closed OBS and reopened it back up, and it was still the same. It has to have been Discord did something to the Windows audio. Let me just see. Is this my... No. Hello, hello? Yeah, that one's... That was weird. Both of my mics just died. That is bizarre. That is utterly bizarre. Okay, sorry about that. I'm going to start recording again because I records the live stream. It was Trappy. Trappy took the stream down. But the quality of the content and bingo. Yeah, that was... Sorry about that, guys. That was weird. Windows... It has to have been OBS. Something to do with Discord stole the audio from the stream. I tried rebooting OBS because I thought it was OBS. I thought it had just stole the audio. Anywho, sorry about that. We continue. What was I talking about? So, TBS. So, yeah, look, I've made some comments. People are getting all bent out of shape. It is what it is. Look, we want them to succeed. We want them to do better. We would like TBS to sort their problems out. Hopefully they will. You know, look, they're a good company. But I do wish they'd listen to people a bit more as well. We want a Crossfire version of that. Please. I was showing the TBS couch clip. Yeah, I don't want to open that up again in just case it kills the audio. So that, yeah, on the couch, he had an Express LRS module in the back. So I don't know, is he winding people up or is he genuinely having a look? Oh, again, YouTube keeps changing that Discord link. Let me open Discord and see if this still works. Hello, hello, hello. Yes, that still works. Hello, that still works. So you can... Hello? Can you still hear me? Yes, you can. So that was the image I was showing you, a Trappy. Look, Express LRS module, Express LRS module. This damn Discord link is a pain in the bum. Let's get a link for copy. Copy. We will put it in the chat over to here. Boom, boom, boom. And I need to update the link. Yeah, Failsafe does a lot of mods, and you can. Give me Mango. I don't want to buy Crossfire module when I would have the Tango. Yeah, some people don't. I'd like, you know, really what would be ideal is this. You can buy it in 2 models. That would be the ideal situation. And wait, check the box for does not expire. Oh, wait a minute. Where's the box for does not expire? Ah. Never. There we go. Well, that's why it doesn't work then. That one is better, and I need to edit. Probably all of my videos have an expired link. Great. Let me update this on Discord as well. There. So I've saved it on this one for next week moving forward. Great. That's going to cause problems. This is a very, very good radio, but I am going to be moving on, and the plan is the Zorro. There's a lot to like on the Zorro. I have some complaints. I have some data, which I'll be sharing, and I will be reviewing it as well, hopefully, in the next couple of weeks. Now your Discord will probably do better. Ian Leman's the internet. This is a very, very good radio. But the sticks aren't great. They're okay. I had a bit of a dust in them the other day, and they felt really rough. Surprising how they feel. But it's a good radio. Ideal size for me. T16 is way too big for my day-to-day usage. My hands aren't that big. Size-wise, this is perfect. Size-wise, this is perfect. Now, I have borrowed a Zorro for a couple of days. Just because it had a problem with the firmware update and the owner got it to me to fix, which I've done, and it's allowed me to have a look and a bit of a play, but I've not had long-term trial of it, but I have flown it, and there is a lot to like. There is a lot to like indeed. So that's that. So we've done Crossfire on this. So the next job is to find a drone. I need an aircraft and a battery, don't I? Because what we now need to do is it now needs to update the receiver over the air, doesn't it? Went ham with the sticks. You like a big throw. Remember and Trap Me Up with the Mambo on the couch stream? People noticed that there was a place to solder a Nano RX in it. Yeah, there was a lot. There's a lot they could do on this. There's a lot they could do on this. Right, let me grab a battery. So, my Crossfire aircraft. Let me move the camera back. The light, I mean. There we go. So what we now want to see is if this updates. So we're going to... Welcome to Mambo. So we need to select the right model. Speedy beat. Oh, we're on the right model already. And we're alive. So if I'm right... Props off. I've got to take the props off. One moment. You spoil my day. Just in case it arms itself, I suppose. I don't know. You lot like to spoil my day. I'd normally just put a... I was... press the bind in the Crossfire. I thought it just updated automatically. The rest of us had nothing left to lose. I never forget I had one go off a few years ago. I never forget the blind over there's a blind on the wall over there. I was building a quad and it was all perfect. I safety first. No, I don't do safety. And I never forget I powered it up on the bench. It was all fine. And then it just went out the blue. And it destroyed a blind. Look at the mud on them. Safety last. Okay, so what are we expecting to happen here? I'm not reading the instructions. I don't care about the instructions. Need to move the microphone to the side. We need to plug in a battery. Now I thought, will this just update? But it's not connecting anymore. So, oh God, the Wi-Fi is going to go off now. 1 second. Turn the Wi-Fi off. Yeah, it's a very old one, Bruce. It was a long time ago. So, did someone say we've got a power... so, what is the plan here? Because I haven't updated this in a long time. Have I got to press... Someone said need binding again. Oh, great. Okay. So, let's do that then, shall we? TBS Agent Light. Micro TX. Let me just find a pair of tweezers. Now I got to find the bind button. Is it press on boot? I can't actually remember. That's what happens when you don't read the instructions. Oh, yeah. Does it need the bind button? Oh, there we go. I need to turn that off. Well, it's a bit better. It was a bit loud. My God. You forget how loud they are, don't you? This can only go horribly wrong. Loading, don't interrupt. Don't interrupt. I should have just plugged in the USB. Ooh. So, it looks like we're okay. Click back. Go into Agent Light. Nano RX is now showing. Looks good. So, we're done. Fly it around the studio. So, the question is, I know some people have had issues with them not reconnecting, so let's just check it. Seems fine. Seems all right. Seems to be working. Can't really complain. Just check. If we just check telemetry. Just to see what's coming in. Bollocks. I do miss the back button on this radio. And I always forget you can press and hold to go backwards. Do you know, it's one of those things I can never remember. There we go. Yeah, everything looks correct. Everything looks good. Yeah. Don't see any problems at all. Well, that was all very straightforward. We made him take his props off. Now what about the test? So, to be fair, that all happened absolutely fine. I've had no problems there at all. So, checking arms. Yeah, that's fine. So, that's all worked fine. It'll fly away now on the first try, won't it? So, we've just updated. Not particularly difficult. So it does just go to show not everything gives problems. Not everyone has issues. Not everyone is in a position where they're going to have problems every time they update, because I've just done it and it's gone through without a hitch as far as I can see. Obviously, we've not flown it, but we've updated Crossfire. Someone just asked us, what's the benefit? Should I update my Crossfire? Right. Right now, the main reason to upgrade Crossfire is if you're going to upgrade to Betaflight 4.3. Not difficult and you were struggling. I didn't read the instructions, though. I intentionally didn't read the instructions. but just to see how we made it through. I often do things without reading so I can see how easy they are. You know, I guessed it on there. We figured it out on there. It's not hard, you know, with some help from you guys. If I'd have just read the manual, it would have been fine. It's not difficult. The main reason to upgrade Crossfire is if you're going to be to Flight 4.3 and newer receivers and stuff like that. Yeah, someone said there. There are some good reasons to do it if you're going to be, especially 4.3, and I am going to be running 4.3 on that, so it was always on the cards for me to do it. I'm going to have to update the receiver in the wing over there, which is just being finished, so I'll do that. But it does just show it's fairly straightforward. The only reason I'm going to... Look, there is a lot of good to have in Express LRS. There's no question about that. Express RS, I fly all Fat Tech. Interesting. I've seen a lot of people talking about Fat Tech recently. It is interesting. It is interesting indeed. You know, Fat Tech are doing some good stuff. I finally got all of the parts for the 7-inch build, and this leads nicely into the 7-inch. I can talk about that now. So for those who don't know, I'm going to be building a 7-inch on the channel. It's the only thing 7 inches that I've got. Let me just go and get it. So we are going to be using the Chris Rosser frame. It's been sitting at the back for a couple of weeks. And a bit more than a few weeks. I need to move the mic, don't I? Why is it shadows? It looks dark this side, doesn't it? Why is it... I got a bulb out. Oh. I got a bulb out. That's why it's looking dark on there. So this is the Chris Rosser 7-inch frame. I'll put it up on the screen in a minute. We'll have a look at the specs. I can't remember what the weight of this is. I haven't got scales to hand. So we're going to be building with this. Come out a little bit so you guys can see it. And I've finally been able to get motors. Now, these have taken a while to get hold of. These are the Emax Eco 2's 2807s, 1300 kVs. And these are going to be the 6S motors to go on this build. Now, these are meant to be a very good but budget motor. Let's come in a bit closer on these so you guys can see. Ooh, we need to focus, 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 focus. There we go. The camera will come back now, 1 second. So these are the 1300 kVs Eco 2s. It'll automatically zoom out in a second. There you go. So the 1300 kV Eco 2s, designed for 6S. And we're going to be running these, which are very, very nice indeed. Very good motor, but they're also quite cheap, but they've been hard to get. Finally managed to get a set in the UK. I could get 1500 or 1700 kVs, but I couldn't get the 13s. But we finally do have the 13s in stock, and that is what's going to be going onto this frame. It's a really nice frame, this. Yep. We'll pop it up on the website in a minute, and it's look at the thickness of the carbon. It's ridiculous. Can't remember what it is. Let me just, where's my vernier? Let's get it under the vernier, shall we? 8mm. 8mm arms on this. So I'm looking forward to getting this one done. It's probably going to be a dual pack rig, this. And the way Chris's arms are done, they notch together at the sides, the arms do, so they're actually interlocking. So they're two separate bits that actually interlock together to produce that locking solidness like we've got there. So what you get is that, which produces that locked in. No, not sub 250, Bruce. And then they'll be going on there. And we'll be bringing it in. The ESC for this one is the big ol' F55A, which is the big T-Motor 55 ampere. We're going to be running him. And flight controller-wise, let me just grab that. When I find it. Can't find the flight controller. The reason they do the frame like that is actually more strength, not less. They do it that way. Oh, it's there. Sorry. And the flight controller is the F743 Slim. And that is what's going to be going on to this one. That's what the plan is. That's the build. And yeah, so hopefully it's going to be a good craft. Now, I am going to be doing an overview of this flight controller first to show you guys that. I haven't filmed that yet. I'm going to get that done this week. Just a quick overview so people can see it. But we got that, the F743 Sim, which is going to give me the options for iNav or Betaflight. Elijah, yeah, no problem at all, mate. What's your question? So that's the plan on this one. So the 7-inch is coming along. I'm going to try and do this as a build video, actually. I very rarely manage to get these done as a build video, but I am going to try on this one. How much does it weigh? We'll get that up. No, we'll get that up in a minute. Let me put the bits in the bag, and then we'll go find it on the website. I can't remember. I have reviewed it, and I did say in my review, but off the top of my head, I can't recall. We'll have a look. We will have a look now on the weight. It does, but the only thing with that, and someone picked me up on my video on that, where I mentioned that, where it allows the carbon fiber to be optimized. But as we all know, carbon fiber is sort of many different directions anyway. Why is a 7-inch frame? Long range and long range. The idea of this is a bigger long range build. The plan is for it to be a HDZero 1 watt. If I can get another one, because I don't want to take it out of this one. I don't want to be taking it out of this. That's the 1 watt I've got in there, and I like that in there. So I was originally going to use that one on it, but I'm now not. Let's just have a look at the weight. Let's just get over to Chris Ross's website. Anyone can remember Chris Ross's website? AOS 7. Let's just go over to there. S7 frame. I think it's DIY drones, isn't it? AOSRC. Very stable. Yes, please. Can you try and bend 1/2 of the arm? Let me just separate it out. Yeah, there's no bending that arm in any direction, right? That I can promise. It's 8mm carbon. You ain't bending that arm at 8mm carbon. Someone says it's square frame. That gives you an idea. So I'll bring that up. So it's Chris Ross's frame here. So AOS 7. There it is. I ordered it in from the US. 230 grams with all metal hardware. Yeah, you're not bending an 8-inch arm. It's an 8mm arm. Sorry, there's no amount of bending an 8mm arm. Now, I do get Chris's comments originally. So Chris's comments, and I have a review on this, where the idea of these interlocking arms is to allow the carbon the torsional strength. I'll get you, Sean. But as someone pointed out the other day to me, was carbon's laid different ways anyway. But it is an interesting design. It's a nice frame. It's a big frame. Lots of space in there. So, yeah, she's going to be on the build. Now, I've got to call someone out now. He's a horrible, nasty individual, this person, right? He's got another YouTube channel. And, oh, sorry. Hello, Sean. How are you? Sean, I just want to say a massive thank you to Sean for the £5 super chat. How are you, mate? We need to have a catch up. How are you, mate? How's things? I hope you are well. I'll send you a message tomorrow as it's a bank holiday. Let's have a catch up. See how things are going. You got to put 2 cameras on this build. You got to put... Is this just woke up for the super chat? It made a noise. I think it's just woke up. Get him to 30k subs. How close am I? I've not looked. How close am I? Do I need to look at this? Let me go in studio. Am I going to get a surprise? Oh, we've hit 27,000, which is we're nearly there. We're nearly there. We are getting clubs. Thank you, Max Sky. How are you? 27. I knew I was hovering around 27. I saw it go over the other day, but I thought, oh, suddenly if I hit 30 and no one, or am I nearly at 29.5 and no one's told me? I got excited then. Trying to plan one wiring diagram for my 5-inch using the H743 Slim. I burnt out a H743 Slim before I even flew it. I got the wiring the wrong way around. Do you want to, I have a H743 Slim. Is it the H743 Slim? No, what's the other one? Not a Slim. There's a smaller one. I burnt it out before even flying it, accidentally. Now I have just a PCB because I was trying to find the short on the board. Okay, I made a silly mistake and I did the Mini. Yeah, that's it. H743 Mini. And I was recording a video, and because I was recording, I was looking at the monitor, and the monitor was backwards, and I made a mistake and wired the ESC plug with lights, positive and negative the wrong way around. Completely my fault. Just happened. Mistake. I did it. But it had a direct short to ground. And I was then removed every component off the board one at a time until I could find the short. And it turns out the short was in the H743. And it seems that there is no UART protection on those flight controllers at all. Let me show you the board. The board's quite funny because it's got no components on it. The board is in my junk box. But there it is. It's on the top. I say I removed all the components. There was a few left. I think we need to turn on the teleconverter. Here we go. So there you go. So you can see, look, I ended up removing almost everything off the board to try and find where the short was. And the last thing I removed was the H743, and that was where the short was. I knew what was wrong, I just couldn't find it. Is the microscope working? That one? Yes, it is. Here we go. So as you can see, I removed pretty much everything. Pretty much it all. And in the end, oh, it was a Holly Bro. Yeah, it was. I can't remember which one it was. It's the Holly Bro. But yeah, and in the end, it was the damn H7. Can you believe it? But literally went down to every component. Every component. Until it was gone. Silly mistake. No, there wasn't a smoke stopper on it at the time of power up. The real amusing thing about it, you guys might find interesting is I managed, because I was doing it on film, to completely backwards wire the whole connector, not just the positive and negative. Everything completely the opposite position of where it should have been, which was quite amusing. Now, before I finish up, if you've got any questions, guys, do put them in the chat. I also had another issue that I had this week, and I'll share with you a bit of footage on this. And this was a failure on a Maytech 743 wing. Now, I didn't cause this. This was a new flight controller. And it decided to give me lots of problems on the OSD. And in the end, I ended up having to replace, let's find this one, the OSD chip, because I was having trouble. So I actually was going to make a video out of this, but there was we haven't got it fully behaving. It's doing very, very strange things. We'll come on to DJI in a second before we finish up. Let's just hop forward. And you can see we did a removal of the OSD chip. The standard analog one. It'll come in a minute once the heat gets into the board. I can't remember if... I think I had a... Oh, yes, she comes off. She does come off. Yeah, what I ended up doing, actually, I think I had to put the change the nozzle. I want to learn how to reball chips. That was flux. So this is a heavy flux paste. So that stuff I put on was a heavy flux paste, is what you can see. So, yeah, that stuff there is just a heavy flux. I have a tub of... I prefer it a little bit than some of the more runnier stuff. iOS 7 motors are the Emax 2802s 1300 kVs. Where is it? So we heat him and then we get him off in a second. The only problem is when you're working under the microscope, you can't quite see it because the camera's looking at where you want. I had plenty of those chips. And I'll just show you me putting it back on. Get it roughly where it needs to be. It did blow away once. I can't remember if this is the one where it blew away. Let's have a look. I was just having a look at it. I can't remember if I had it. I was doing something here. Oh, yeah, there we go. We're there. So what we do is get it in place, roughly. At the moment, I've got quite unsteady hands. As you can see, my hands aren't working too well. I'm not sure what's going on. And then we heat him, hold him down, get him in place. Once he starts to stick, I can move the tweezers off the top. You've got to take into account it is very, very small as well. My problem with my hand was I was resting over something quite badly on this one. You always get shaky under the scope as well. And then if let me just have a look at the... I actually ended up taking it on and off 3 or 4 times, if I recall. Let's have a look. What do I show on this one? No, ignore that. That was something else on it as I was diagnosing it. I took it on and off a few times, this one. So yeah, I'll show you this. So if I go here. So this was it going back on another time. iOS 7, pretty damn sluggish on 6S. So I'm sorry, you're going to the 1500 kVs. That's interesting. Oh, that's not playing. Sorry. Let me. And I just wanted to see if I could find where I soldered it back up. Good evening, Lewis. How are you? Louis also has one of those flight controllers as well. Have you flown it yet, Louis? Have you flown it yet? And this was just it went on and off a few times, so I was swapping it through. What you always love is, as long as you've got plenty of flux, it'll find its way to where it needs to be. Just a gentle tap, just to get it where it needs to be. When you're happy with it, there, looks like I have it there. It was straight then, and then I probably put the tweezers on and held him down. Wait for it to cool, and then put the tweezers back on top, just to hold it in place. And then we redid all of the pins. Let's have a look. Here we go. So with the iron, just doing drag soldering, just to make sure all the pins are individually soldered. Now, I could have dragged it down, or I was checking them one at a time. Just making sure. This side was right on my funny side. You'll notice that I think I turn it round in a minute because I'm just not happy. I'm making more of a mess than I would usually be on this side. Because I'm left-handed as well, which doesn't help, and that's my right. I'm going right side of the board on my left hand. I think in the end I just got annoyed and turned it round. I think I did. Yeah, there we go. Can't quite see it very well here. Getting in on the pins. This wasn't quite as well focused as it should have been. So gave it a clean. Yeah, it was off focus, wasn't it? Wow. Yeah, that's not good. The focus wasn't good, but I was just checking the board after it was done. So, yeah, it was just a quick replacement of the OSD chip, but I had a number of problems on that one, which is it's doing weird stuff. I'm not exactly sure why. I'm not exactly sure why on that one. It was doing really... Tried liquid soldering. Liquid soldering. Off the ground? Hello, how are you? Liquid soldering. What do you mean by liquid soldering? Flux paste. Solder paste. Could just use solder paste. Okay, DJI. No, there's no major news for DJI at the moment, guys. Version 3, there's nothing. Okay. Drone hacks have a solution on the FPV drone on 0015. Shorts would be unlikely. Just check afterwards. Yeah, as always, I always do. But yeah, so drone hacks, let me just find their website. I believe... have released an update. Let's just check. Mini 3 released on the 10th. Was released yesterday at Argos, Louis. Where are we at? So, drone hacks, I believe. Do they have a new version? I think they're now sorted. Version 1.26 on the 26th of the 4th. Yes, here we go. So, drone hacks have a new, latest drone hacks, especially supports the DJI FPV Racer. You're now able to downgrade the unhackable 010215 firmware, recommend firmware to unlock certificates, etc. So they've now got an official way around it. It is out there with drone hacks. You can now do it. So today we're providing us, especially supports the FPV Racer, you are able to downgrade the unhackable 010215 firmware. So everything is well again for now. Going to be in the Lauder's going to be in the UK. That's very good. Yeah, those over here are pretty fair. You won't have too many problems over here as long as you don't do anything silly. You know, that's pretty good. So, Drone Hacks has a solution. You're all fine on the FPV drone. As for FPV version 3, there is no news right now. There's nothing more at all. Nothing... We know, nothing officially announced. The Mini 3 was delayed, although Argos, you can see it was meant to be launched because Argos put the video out already. The listing out already. These things happen time and time again. They keep doing the same thing over and over again, and we get the same problems arise. Now, we are nearly at the end of the show, guys. If you've got any questions, did you put the chip in before heating? What did you put on the chip? So I'm just checking down the chat to make sure I didn't miss anything. So, Birk, you found yours quite sluggish. Where did I get the race OSD Max? I had a load of spare boards, including the one I took that board off. Same chip. It's pretty much the same OSD chip on every flight controller. Almost the same one. Jason Pittons. Is this risky and sort of dim light? Yeah. So when you're soldering like that, like I was doing down, you have tons of flux. It basically shouldn't bridge. No, I haven't tried the Action 2 glitch yet. I'm going to start looking at that now tomorrow morning. I was going to do it and I completely forgot. So I will start looking at that in the morning. It's slow to gain altitude. Full throttle just doesn't do much. That's interesting. Have you tried changing props? Feels like like a Mr. Steel quad. Yeah, I do like a bit of speed on gaining altitude. She on a 3000 milliamp success. That's the size I was looking at as well, or two 1500s. That's a little bit worrying. So you're going to go to the 1500 kVs on success and see how it is. It should, it should give a bit more poke. You got no throttle limit and nothing on. I'm guessing you got no throttle limit on. I like low pitch for wind performance. I'd rather have higher RPM. Yeah, I get you. I know where you're going with that. That does make a lot of sense. So, guys, I want to thank you for spending some time with me. The plan over the next couple of weeks is we may be starting to invite a couple of guests on the Sunday live stream. Depends how much news there is. Right now, FPV is a little bit quiet. Ultra Cream Motor Trace and Black Box. Should be, as Chris also framed. FPV is somewhat a little bit quiet, and, you know, at times it's been hard to drag some news forward. So what I might start doing is, if things are quiet, we're going to start inviting guests. Now, one guest I would love to do an interview with is Mr. Bruce from RC Model Reviews. If you've ever seen the channel, it's a small creator from across the pond where we send all of our convicts. And he is not really well known. Been around quite a long time. And he's sort of known in the niche side of FPV, so I would love to get him on and just talk to him about some stuff. So he's someone I'm gonna try and talk to. He's someone I wouldn't mind getting on to. Iglazoo, check the soldering technique. Can you explain a bit more? I don't know what you mean. I'll get him to check the soldering technique. Don't get Bruce to check my soldering. He's a small channel, so we'll see if we can convince him to coming on and saying hello. I have one question. Does the motor braking AC feature make a difference with the new PID controller in Betaflight 4.3? How to go from 0? I wonder if it makes a difference. What I believe is you leave that off, don't you? I thought the best recommended setting on that was off. I'm not... Whose video? Someone was talking about this the other day. Was it Rosser or was it Bardwell? Motor brake ESC, maybe for a future video. Yeah, if you turn it on, it applies active braking when the throttle 0 is requested. Yes, which is... technically, if you've got ear mode on, it's going to go against ear mode because ear mode is giving you full PID control when you're off the throttle. So I don't know if you'd have to turn ear mode off for that. Yeah, I have heard he's done the odd controversial thing every now and again. But not just him. I would like to invite a number of people onto the channel. With 4.3, could now apply 0 throttle to a single motor. Yes, you can. Yes, there's been some very, very, very nice changes in 4.3. I love how 4.3 flies. If anyone's tried it, I love how Betaflight 4.3 flies. On my worst flying quad, it flies extremely well. Flies better than it ever has before. Pretty much out the box. Bit of tweaking. It really does fly very, very well. And some news I should say is, if you guys haven't seen, they've released the update for Betaflight 4.3 for the GPS issues for failsafe. If you haven't seen it, you want to update to that. I need to do mine as well, actually. My HDZero build. I'm on Betaflight 4.33 not 4. It was released after 3 and before 4, and mine seems to work. But RC6 resolves those issues, so you really, really want to update to that. You don't want to be missing out on that one, otherwise you could lose your aircraft. And if you don't know, basically it would fall from the sky in the event of a failsafe in 4.3 version 4 and version 5. Quite dodgy indeed. But as always, it is a thing. Louis says he's ordered a Mini 3. Nicely done, Louis. Yes. So, Dave, have you got the link? Can you put it in the chat? And I'll do a bit on it, and I'll put that out as a live stream clip tomorrow. Oh, well, the plan is to start building. Now I've got the bits, I can start building. RC3 should be fine. If you're on RC3, Mike, you'll be all right. It's RC4 and 5 with the dodgy ones. My RC3, failsafe's fine. But 4 and 5 with the bad ones. Oh, is it not letting you post a link? Where are they, Dave? Let me do it again. Let me do something, Dave. It's not letting you add as a moderator. Try it now, mate. How I've not done that, I don't know. Try it now. It always hides links from people. And we'll do this. There is a consultation on, is this the extending the legacy? Yeah. I've done it already. I've done mine. There we go. So, copy link address. Bring that up. Put that in there. Okay. So, for those of you who don't know, the UK is in a transitional period with regards to the regulation changes implemented a few years ago. We have the new regulation system with the open category with varying different sizes and weights of aircraft, mostly around weights, and you have all aircraft that don't comply with this, which was called the transitional class. And what was brought in was a period of transition where if you own these older aircraft, they would give you some additional benefits up until a fixed date. And if you wanted to continue those benefits, you would have to basically upgrade to one of the new C-rated aircraft that fell under this new classification thing in the open category. However, there has been a large number of delays. There has been a large number of problems with this whole move into the C-rated system, and we still today don't have any aircraft that comply with this. As a result of that, the UK CAA have put out a consultation on extending this transitional period. And it is really important that if you are a drone owner or user in the UK, you take the time to go out and fill this in. If I hop over to the desktop, you can see, and I will put a link to this in the description of the video. This is where you have the opportunity to click the online survey and give your thoughts on the consultation. As I've already said, it's really important we do this. Everyone needs to have their say, because the reality is it's almost impossible to fully comply with these new rules because there are no aircraft available today that do comply with the C-rated system out the door. The survey is very simple and straightforward. It asks for your name and email address, and in it, it will ask you how long you think they should extend this consultation period, or this transitional period, I should say, for. I put it down personally as indefinitely. I personally don't feel there is a need to end the transitional period at all. There will be a natural end to transitional aircraft as they age anyway, and we are years off C-rated aircraft becoming the norm. Even if the Mini 3 launches with a C rating, we are not going to see that any real mass adoption of that for some time yet. So please do take the time to do this survey. It's very, very important. There is a link to it in the description of this video. And by doing that, you are helping every other drone owner in the UK ensure that they continue to use the aircraft that they own today. Because just because the rules have changed doesn't mean you need to run out and buy a new aircraft. Why should users of good Mavic 2s, Mavic 1s, Phantoms, all of those style aircrafts that sort of fall into some of these categories have to suddenly upgrade to continue to use these legacy options that they gave us? In some ways, can call it legacy because it was added. You gained benefits with the new rules system. But there's no reason to take them away because we've proved it's completely safe. Because in this period of these new regulations being allowed, there's basically been no incidents that we're aware of that would bring continuing that as an issue forward. So we really do need to make sure we push this. So again, please take the time. Fill it in. There is no reason the CAA need to push this forward. We have proven it's safe, and they can continue to allow us to do this. Did that work? That was off the top of my head. Hopefully that made sense. I am a professional, you know, at times. All non-C rated will go into specific. Yes, if we don't do it. Infinite extension. I might even record something special, Dave. That was literally off the top of my head, and I don't usually do one takes. I normally take a while to get a video like that done. I would usually put a lot of background on it as well, but I might know. I think we might be all right on that. We might be okay on that. It's often hard. I'm not a one take wonder by any means. I usually struggle on stuff like that. Right, guys. I would like to thank you all 86 of you. Before you go, though, I have one thing I want you to do. I want you to all click that like button for me. Would you do that for me? I'd really appreciate it. Next week, I'm going to be trying to give something away as well. I have some keys for that software to make mounts for FPV quads. And I've been sent 2 keys by the generous creator, and I'm not going to use one of the keys myself. I am going to pay for the software myself, and I'm going to give 2 keys away to you guys, and I will probably do that on next week's live stream is when I will do that. He has very, very kindly sent over the keys. The software looks really, really good, and it's really quite impressive, and I'd rather support him personally. I can afford to send him the money, so I'll pay and I'll give the 2 keys away, basically. So we're going to do that next week as well. Keys to the city. Thank you for all spending some time with me on a Sunday night. Look after yourself. I will be back same time, same place next week, hopefully. The HDZero video will be going live this week. I would really appreciate you guys watching it. It's long. Please don't bail out after 10 minutes. If you're going to, one thing I'm going to try and ask people, if you're going to watch it, because the analytics will go nuts, it's really going to be worth a look. I promise you. There's so much great information in it from Carl. And again, a massive thank you from me. Same time, same place. See you guys next week. I've lost the button. I've just realized something. Bugger. I wasn't recording, Dave, when I did that. I'm recording on YouTube, so I can download it off YouTube, but it's only going to be 720p. Bollocks. Bye-bye.